was, the one thing we learned about this alibi as well is all four of the victims are sound asleep. And, the 12 other times that he was seen around that neighborhood, they were also asleep. But in this particular
Hello, everyone. It's Fancy Grace. But today, I just want to let you know that everything said here is out of love for my cousin Nancy. But I'm really kind of ticked off. I don't like your latest film, and I intend to talk about your little episode, and I have experts of my own. So, let's see. We're going to call this, everybody, fair use. This is not intended to hurt, it's intended to help and reach out and love and very much camaraderie. You know what I'm saying? So, everybody relax. We're going to show a few clips here. This is fair use. Do not mistake my parody for fact. This is all fiction. So, let's do this. Okay, Nancy, you tell me how this makes any sense at all. You got this map you keep showing of Mr. Brian Koberger's phone pings. Well, it says 4:48 a.m. He's over here. Then you got him 2 minutes later getting all the way across here at 4:50 a.m. But you got 4:50 a.m. here, phone ping. He's over here now. And then it says 5:27 a.m. He's got a phone ping. And 5:27 a.m. here's his residence. But between 2:42 a.m. and 2:47 takes him 5 minutes to get from here to here. But it only takes him 2 minutes to get from here to all the way over here. This just don't even make sense. Then y'all got him saying he's there 9:21 a.m. He's over in the Moscow, ringing on the next day or whatever. But like, didn't then they say in the affidavit that it wasn't him the next day? Yet y'all keep showing that same old footage of that white car driving up the road like there's not any other white cars even in that neighborhood. I mean, none of this makes sense. Do y'all even look at your stuff before you put it up? I'm real
The only
disappointed.
corroboration, Mark Tague, that
Yeah,
Koberger is bringing on is a set of cell phone pings.
but there's nothing wrong with that. The prosecution has indicated they're going to rely on cell phone pings. And the law about alibi in Idaho is anytime after arraignment, you're allowed to tell the prosecutors rather, that you're going to rely on alibi and you have to disclose your witnesses. However, here, the witnesses are cell phone pings. Just like the prosecution's relying on cell phone pings, so is the defendant allowed to rely as well. Now, of course, that's going to be put in front of a jury, just like issues about whether he wore gloves and how strange that is. All of that will be admitted by witnesses, all of whom are subject to a sifting cross examination. And so now the prosecution knows there's going to be an alibi defense. And when there is, it has to be supported by admissible evidence. And so with each witness comes the chance
Oh,
to
you're just
demonstrate
reading
reasonable
the
doubt.
criminal code on evidence to me. I got it.
That's right.
Hey,
So that's what
Liz,
the
could you?
defense.
Anyway, sorry. I guess we know who probably taught that little Santa's helper prosecutor girl how to be rude and make noises. Shush, Nancy.
case, you have the phone pings that get up to the point where they turn off, and then all of a sudden the video picks it back up in the neighborhood, i.e., the car. So, to try to sell that, you know, from the defense, whenever you hear a defense attorney say, the public has a right to know, and there's a gag order, that's usually a clue that there's something coming.
That's our clue that something is coming? What the? Um, what, you mean our rights or evidence or something proper in court? I am so just blown away by the things that you guys keep saying. I mean, Nancy, you just said that the time of death of these kids was 2:47 or something? Um, okay. Did you not even read the probable cause affidavit? Cause they're talking about Zana was on the TikTok until about 4:12 or something, and then the person was already squealing away at 4:20. So, like a big old 4 minutes or 8 minutes or something, they got to kill 4 people in this house, clean up, get away spotless. I mean, make it make sense, Ugh, you're making me crazy.
4:50 phone ping. 4:48 phone turned back on. Wait, 2:47 a.m. right before the murders, in the middle of the night while he's out stargazing, he decides to turn his phone off from 2:47 to 4:48. Wow, Chris McDonough, isn't that exactly when the time the murders occurred?
Yeah, absolutely, Nancy. And what's interesting about that, and
Oh,
you
come
pointed
on.
it out.
Well, okay. Like I said, you heard him. The time of the murders? Isn't that right? The time of the murders? T-Ford Stephen? Yeah, that's right. I'm Chris. People! I'm going to show you another clip from another news organization so we can just compare the quality of work.
It's been 3 weeks and there doesn't seem to be a suspect.
Longer than that, and you can't blame the parents of these victims for holding out hope that justice is going to be swift. But right about now, it's not looking like that. I can't help but think of a recently solved crime that took decades to be solved, and that was Kristen Smart. She was a college student, disappeared, and we didn't get justice for her until very recently when Paul Flores was convicted by a jury. I hope this case does not follow suit, but right now it's not looking so good. We literally are searching for a needle in a haystack with one clue, and that's a white sedan that the authorities are looking for. But other than that, there's not a whole lot that they're hanging their hats on, and that's scary from everybody's perspective.
Yeah, it's a white Hyundai Elantra, and that's a pretty popular car. We've seen a photograph of it, but at this point, you were saying you're more than 3 weeks into this entire thing. What are police officers, what are police doing at this point? We know they've gotten some 10,000 tips. Is that the needle in the haystack?
Sifting through all those tips is going to be hard and arduous, but they need to do it. This is what I think they should be doing at this point. How about taking a second look at those potential suspects that they quickly dismissed? I think that would be important at this point.
Well, now, did you hear what Fancy heard? They should go back over all the people that they so quickly dismissed. Now, that's 3 weeks into this case, and this professional people are saying this? I don't know. Not looking too good.
Dismissed. I think that would be important at this point, 6 weeks or so into this investigation. And secondly, how about let's investigate outside the box? And I'm not suggesting that, there's anything nefarious going on within law enforcement, but let's take a look at people, security for the campus, for example, people you would never expect. At this point, you've got to cast a very wide net, and I think that's going to be the next best step for police and authorities in this case.
So let's take a look at what we know here, what investigators have told us, the evidence that they've compiled so far. Some victims had defensive wounds from fighting back. A 911 call came from inside the house from roommates. Surviving roommates and a man from surveillance video cleared as suspects. Police are searching for that white Hyundai Elantra we just talked about. They received 10,000 plus tips so far, and no suspect has been identified. When you look at that mix, John, what does that tell you?
It's going to be a very long road for authorities and for the families of these victims. I mean, honestly, I think they're going to have to go through every single one of those tips. They're going to have to hope maybe that somebody trips up. I mean, look at how could anybody commit such a heinous crime and then not say a word and not leave any clue whatsoever? In this day and age, you can't walk out your front door without being on a few security cameras. Where is all that footage? They really are going to have to clear their decks, dig in, and like I said, start investigating and thinking outside the box on this one.
Yeah, how does somebody even dispose of all the evidence from that type of crime scene? 4 people.
You know, 4 people. What was he or she? And I'm leaning toward the perpetrator is a he, just because of the violent nature of the crime. But did he wrap himself in bubble wrap? I mean, there's no weapon. We haven't had any transfer evidence. We don't have any other DNA other than the victim so far. I mean, I know it was a bloody scene, so there's a lot to cull through, and I know that's going to take time. But it seems like it's taking longer without any prospects on the horizon. That's the strange part about this horrific case.
State doesn't get bogged down in a lot of scientific evidence. That's what happened in the Tot Mom Casey Anthony trial, where she killed her daughter Kelly and was acquitted. But that evidence was true, but it did get bogged down. You know what? Once the jury hears that after the murders, this guy went everywhere wearing plastic gloves, I mean, you know, I don't need an expert to tell me that's evidence of guilt. And I don't mean just that, Karen Stark, not just that, of course. The DNA on the knife, the fact that he ordered the exact same knife and sheath from Amazon, but what it's missing, nobody can find it. The cell phone, the video string cobbled together where we see his movements that night. There's so much evidence, Karen, much less this.
Nancy Grace, let me ask you something. Where did you see evidence that Brian Koberger purchased a K-bar knife and sheath and that he has lost it somewhere? I do not recall that. Could you please show me that? And Miss Nancy Grace, I don't know what you are doing. Making fun of gloves. Like, what if he has a germ thing? You know, people are kind of germy out there. I just don't understand. What is your attitude? You've become so mean. And to bring up that hot mom, Casey Anthony, she is nothing like Brian. If he did this, honey, I'll lead him to the gallows. But I believe you're supposed to be innocent until you're proven guilty. Not sit here and yell about guilty, guilty, guilty. It's so obvious. Let me get some idiots to tell you that everybody's guilty. Yeah, la, 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 la. It's just too much, Nancy. You need to have a seat. Have a seat.
Much less this.
You're talking about a guy who needs complete control and dominance, Nancy. I know this is going to come out. I mean, how telling is it that the phone is on and right before the murders, he turns it off? And that to me is completely compelling. And this guy, he has a history of staring at women to the point where they throw him out of restaurants. But he's been complained about. He's been said that he's odd. He takes control in a classroom. He studies how to do murders. I mean, that's his expertise.
Well, you know, Karen Stark, it hasn't come out yet, and I don't think that it will be part of the evidence because it will be very inflammatory. But when I was in Moscow and around Pullman speaking to people there, several female students came up to talk about how angry he would act at them, graded them much more severely than he did men. I mean, it was very compelling evidence that this guy hates women. I mean, I had to be a shrink to figure out why, but I bet the jury will never hear all that.
What an expert she was. Wow, Nancy. Just wow. let's hear from some of my experts. Fancy, I had to talk to you right away. Did you hear? I mean, people are running everywhere. I mean, there's just chaos. It is the worst thing I've ever seen. The protesting, the rioting, the looting. I mean, how could they think about ending TikTok? What kind of a world is this? TikTok! Thank you for having me, Fancy. I represent the Ladies Auxiliary League, and we gather to have a fan club for Mr. Bill Thompson. Mr. Thompson plays the guitar for the Ladies Auxiliary at the church, and we just love him. We think you should stop talking about Mr. Bill. Quite frankly, it's rude. Did you all just say TikTok and Bill Thompson fan club? Who is it next? Somebody talk to me about Coburger. Go!
You listen up, Fancy. You better not get mouthy with me. I'm a ex-cop and I got a YouTube channel and I like to just put people's comments up and accuse them of crap. Try to tell them they don't know anybody. They don't know. They don't care. How dare they question us? That's how we do it. That's how we roll. Oh boy, Fancy. So glad to get another chance to talk to you. Yes, me. Remember I work for the street department. Yes. You know, just saying, some cops ask for the traffic cams, and some cops don't ask for the traffic cams, and that means not all the same cops is thinking with all the same knowledge base. So I could kind of see why might be important to have all the cameras so you could really actually follow the really right car, because they're the ones that said there was like 22,000 Elantras. I don't know. Nice to meet you, Fancy. Maybe I can clear up a few things for you. Happy to help. Why are we making judgments before we've gone to court? Well, we're cops. We know things. We have years of experience. I don't know why any of you keep questioning that. If you don't realize that we are smarter and better at asking about questions and things than you are or could ever be, then maybe that's the problem is with you.
Yeah. Mr. Koberger was my TA. And he actually thought I was supposed to be there on time with my homework and not copy anyone's stuff. It was total BS. He's just a complete prejudiced person against females. And we turned him in. We told the dean it's him or us.
Let me just clear this up for you now, Mr. Fancy. Cops are gonna be right. And good cops are hard to find. We usually keep them on traffic duty.
This just in, Fancy. When Brian moved out, Brian Koberger, because I live downstairs, I heard he took his shower curtain and he took his trash out. Scandalous. Well, folks, that was a little bit exhausting and frustrating. But I sure do thank you for joining me today. I'd also like to say happy birthday to Mr. Willie Nelson, who is 84 years young today. Thank you, Willie Nelson, for all you do for American farmers and American weed smokers. Anyway, I sure would like anyone who's watching to be a subscriber and to please hit the like button. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it sure does help to get this video out to other people that may enjoy it. Sharing is caring. For now, thank you for joining me. I'm Fancy Grace. Stay away from people. They're just messed up. Unless you're in my chat. Those people are pretty cool. Love y'all. Bye-bye.